So largely we have followed seniority principle, and other factors cannot be ignored. Since yesterday we were talking related to appointment article 124, and it does not talk about details of qualification criteria, etc., although it is expected that the executive should have done so far. But executive has also not laid down such things in memorandum of procedure. So that remains to let's depends on the situation, time, that which factor will play. Although by and large we say seniority principle, but we cannot ignore other factors like be it merit, gender, social diversity, and regional diversity and integrity, and nowadays gender also. Plus regional diversity, let's say one gay judge in High Court, I guess, he is not getting elevation to Supreme Court. So, Delhi High Court judge. So, government has no problem as long as he is judge in High Court, but when he becomes judge in Supreme Court, so गेइजाइजेशन हो सकता है हमारे देश का. Sorry to say that. Right. Anyhow, so gender is also one such, plus other factors are there. So seniority is not always followed, although the convention is that we should follow seniority. The qualification which is mentioned in case of High Court judges or Supreme Court judges, so they are not qualification in details, let's say. It simply says that you should be judge of a High Court, or you should be advocate or a distinguished jurist. We don't have practice of appointing judges from distinguished jurists, and we appoint from advocates, especially in high courts, and in Supreme Court largely we try to elevate judges from high courts. That is how the practice that we have. So in such scenario, you'll find this that other factors should also play a role. This we can consider, as it affects what we say cause delay also. It results into delay in appointment, as well as it affects independence. Yes. Now, in case we follow both merit and seniority, yes, here we follow as a convention seniority. Yes. But in this, largely let's skip. We follow this, but at times merit has also been followed. Right. So we can have examples. That is K.M. Joseph. Basically, his rank was 34 in All India Judges Seniority list. His rank was at 34. Then all judges were compared in terms of seniority. This at High Court level. This. And therefore, he was elevated, or other judges were not elevated, rather he was picked up. He was elevated to Supreme Court. Collegium recommends his name. Recommends his name. When Collegium recommends his name, so government says that, seniority should be followed. When government recommends merit, when judiciary recommends merit, the government will say no, seniority should be followed. The government rejected by saying that seniority should be followed. There are other cases also, other such kind of developments where when court has followed seniority, the government says, merit should be followed. This. So this you can consider. Now you know already that what government did. Government delayed it. It was not appointed. This when delayed. So this is how judiciary, let's say that the communication between first it rejects, then it delayed, right? Then communication, let's say, happens, and the order they send. This is how the next part. Yesterday we left. So the order which collegium sent, it sends in order 1, 2, 3. Suppose it sends in order. This order is decided by the collegium itself. It tries to decide the order that in that order itself government will appoint. But what government does? Government will appoint this person first. Government will appoint this person as first, and government will not appoint them at all. Delayed. Now, collegium sends other names. When collegium sends other names, and suppose they have problem with their names, they will further delay it and they will appoint the name sent now. That way it is done. Then court means collegium. Next time when it sends new list, in new list it will send again this. So that their seniority is maintained. So that way you will find that nitty-gritty details, if you see the list and the way it is done. So government does like this, and because of that KM Joseph becomes, means he cannot be appointed as Chief Justice. Many a time there is a calculation how long we can delay that he will not become Chief Justice. Or if we do not appoint, change the order, in changing the order, then you see that he is not going to be Chief Justice. That level of nitty-gritty details the executive has, and this is how we can consider too much of involvement in such process. And that is how finally, let's say, they send the name of KM Joseph again, but when they send other list, they send the KM Joseph name separate and other list separate. Right? That was the scenario of KM Joseph. And still government was not appointing. That is how Deepak Mishra threatened to this. That is a case where merit, Supreme Court, defended merit of KM Joseph. He is a meritorious person, and then hence he should be appointed. So that generated lots of time to time merit versus seniority debate you can find in the newspapers. When such debates become a bit big, so at national level you can find how such debates happen. So that was a time there was debate on merit versus seniority. Now you can see that this is a merit wala case, and government was taking seniority. So then there is one more example. Akhil Quraishi. Akhil Quraishi. Tripura Chief Justice. Tripura High Court Chief Justice. He was among the senior most judges. This means among the Chief Justice, he was among the senior most judges, and therefore he was supposed to be elevated to Supreme Court. And collegium considers his elevation, but somehow government has rejection, right? Because Akhil Quraishi was part of the bench in Gujarat riot case, which transferred cases from Gujarat to Maharashtra. Yes. And no, Akhil Quraishi was part of this encounter, and our Kautilya going to jail, right? Yes, justice lawyer, right? So he had order arrest of our Kautilya. Right. Now, High Court had order filing FIR and arresting. Right. This. So that way, let's say that he was senior most judge in Gujarat High Court, but he was not made Chief Justice of Gujarat High Court. Right. Then let's say he was transferred to Madhya Pradesh High Court, and then it was thought that he would be made Madhya Pradesh High Court Chief Justice. He was not made Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court. Finally, he was transferred to Tripura, and then he was made Chief Justice of Tripura. And it was his name that this Justice Nariman vetoed that he would not forward any name unless his name is forwarded for appointment. You can see that how lack of clarity related to whether we should follow, because these things you cannot define. If you define, so then it results into water tightness, and if you are not defining, it results into tussle. And it's like something, let's say, like bargaining, negotiations may be happening inside, or what exactly happens, but it raises doubts. People will have doubts on that in the nature of appointment, and unnecessary there is delay. That's why if you have a better system of appointment system, that you have a better system of appointment, not collegium system, which both have, let's say, acceptance, it can minimize such kind of delays or such kind of tussles. We cannot say that there will not be any problem when you have any good system. This is not. Any country, even Western countries, they have huge problems, but they try to handle their problems. We have also problems, we also try to solve, but not in such a procrastinated manner that we are trying to create National Judicial Council since Vajpayee time. So, Vajpayee time we are trying to create. So, we take 20 years, 30 years, we have record of creating Lokpal 43 years. So, this cannot be considered. Now, if you take in case of this Seniority Convention, in case of Chief Justice of India, so there was no any such convention defined in the constitution. These things are not mentioned. It happened that after first Chief Justice, when he retired, then that government's Prime Minister wanted to appoint a judge from Maharashtra, means this Bombay, let's say, High Court Chief Justice, something Chagla. So Chagla was Chief Justice of Bombay High Court. Hence, government wanted to appoint him as Chief Justice because there were no conventions, no qualification how to appoint. So then it wanted to appoint the 6 judges in, I think 7 judges. The 7 judges in Supreme Court means threatened to resign. So when they threatened to resign, government was forced to appoint the senior most judge in those 7 judges as Chief Justice. And that is how beginning of convention. That there is a convention that Chief Justice should be the senior most judge. Now this was violated to, there are 2 times it has been clearly violated. Other times, let's say, so they are because of this or that reason. The 2 times, one was in this 1973, A.N. Ray was appointed, and in this case, that time the senior most was Sellat. Sellat was the senior most judge to be appointed Chief Justice. He was ignored, but there were other 2 more also senior most, Grover and Hegde. And all the 3 resigned. All the 3 resigned. That was aftermath of our Keshwananda Bharti case. Then second case is called 1976. Yes. 76. 77. maybe this is called MH Beck. He was appointed and Justice Khanna was ignored. He was part of ADM Jabalpur. ADM Jabalpur case. Right. Thereafter, that serious instance has not happened. This and it was reinforced. Seniority principle was reinforced. This convention was reinforced by under fourth judge case. That Chief Justice should be the senior most person. Now, both have their pros and cons. If you follow seniority principle, so seniority principle is most peaceful principle. You can say that it does not create any problem because seniority is clear who should get that post. So hence it will eliminate all those subjectivity or politically motivated decision or delay in decision. That is how. But you know that seniority may not necessarily bring other things that we have written. Right. Seniority may not bring these things. Yes. Merit or gender or let's integrity. The seniority may not necessarily have integrity, although they take into consideration integrity or regional diversity. That's why it is said that the Indian Supreme Court is largely dominated by some of the high courts. This. So 20 families on the one hand and some high courts on the other hand. And those high courts are largely from mainland, let's say that. This. So this way we can consider, and that is how it is criticized. Plus, merit is one thing that you know that merit in today's time, merit is very important. In fact, all other countries have the practice. If you say advanced country, they appoint young officers. Like UK, there is no retirement age for judges in US. The Supreme Court judge, so president can appoint any judge as Supreme Court judge, and there is no retirement age. He continues to hold office as long as he is competent person. This. But we have system of youngest country, generally we say ruled by oldest people, and we like it. We like it. Or youngest people, let's say that, are in unproductive work. Our youngest people at 30 years of age in unproductive work. They are just studying and studying and studying. They are not contributing anything meaningful to our society. Sorry to say that. This is a flaw you can consider. You study, so you just want to get a job, that's all. Many times I find it outdated system. I'm a critic, but it is my personal view. So it is something outdated system where you lock yourself in room for 2 years, you study, qualify one exam. The only to find out after that you don't want to do anything. And society glorifies it. No, कि 2 साल इसने खूब sacrifice किया है और टॉप कर गया. सोसाइटी को क्या बेनिफिट होने वाला है? This. Anyhow, forget. So, because nowadays I think, मेरा personal view है कि I find all examination completely outdated. इसलिए कि वर्ल्ड बिल्कुल चेंज हो चुका है, सोसाइटी बिल्कुल चेंज हो चुका है, इतना टेक्नोलॉजी आ चुका है और इतना सिस्टम आ गया है कि अभी भी लेट्स से दैट कि वी वांट राइट different type of system. Anyhow, forget about this. What we are trying to say, merit, right? मेरिट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट। हम अभी मार्स मिशन की बात कर रहे हैं, वो कोई मार्स पे रहने की बात कर रहा है, ठीक है। एंड ऑलरेडी सैटेलाइट बना चुका है, और वो हमारे जैसा क्लेम नहीं करते हैं वो, we are the first and we will do the best, you are the biggest, right. So Elon Musk speaks very simple language, you know that he may be whatever the person, what he says, I hope Mars mission जो launch होने वाला है, it will not be boring, I will give you excitement, ये उसका quotation, right. और हम क्या कहेंगे, we will be the first country in the this, the simplicity you find, right, in the language, this that, and he says also कि मतलब गारंटी नहीं हो 50-50 का सक्सेस का है, बट हमारे यहाँ नहीं, we will ensure that there is success. This, what we are saying is technology, let's say basically society and merit he alone, I many a time I think कितना वो इंटेलिजेंट आदमी है, ठीक है, कि वो स्पेस का भी वो सही जानता है, बिना टेक्स्ट देखे बात करता है वो, राइट। बिना टेक्स्ट का देखे जब सैटेलाइट लॉन्च होता है तो ऐसे ही बात करता है, एंड he knows about satellite also, he knows about car also, isn't it? And he knows about Starlink जो ऐसा लेके आया कि वर्ल्ड ही मना कर दिया उसको, वो इतना एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी है टेलीकॉम का कि वर्ल्ड ने ही मना कर दिया उसको, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक व्हीकल कोई आने नहीं देना चाहता है उसका, इसलिए इट विल आउट कम्पीट दिस. So this is innovation. Although not we are not innovating, we are also innovating. But our startup का जो हमारा स्पेस सेक्टर में है वो स्ट्रगल फॉर, दे डोंट हैव फंड्स, स्कार्सिटी ऑफ फंड्स, और कोई फंड नहीं करेगा उनको. Anyhow, let's come to our point. Merit I was talking. So basically merit you cannot ignore. Meritorious judges you need to have. As of now, meritorious people are attracted in corporate sector. This you should also know that. Those people in the field of law who are meritorious from the premier institutions, they don't get attracted towards judiciary because they don't have for them suitable post. State judicial examination is below standard. For them it is below standard and they would not try to. And there is no national level judicial examination. And there is no direct recruitment in judiciary. The qualification, it says 10 years advocate, 5 years of judges. This. So even if they are very intelligent, but they are not attracted towards judiciary, rather they are attracted towards corporate sector. This is a flaw. Right. Civil services attract, you know that, the premier, let's say, institutions, graduates, those who have interest in civil services. But those who are graduate in, let's say, law, they are not attracted towards civil services. Very less. So, but we need meritorious people, competent people. That is how merit should also be given weightage in appointment. But then how to determine merit becomes challenge. You know that. Because merit remains a very subjective thing. Plus other concerns have also come nowadays. Gender aspect, we'll talk a bit separately on, we expect a question on gender aspect. That we can consider. Integrity, let's say that is not the point. Regional diversity, not. Gender has emerged one aspect, we'll talk it. So what basically we can summarize related to merit versus seniority, that both have their own advantages and disadvantages. Merit has the benefit of bringing transformation, bringing innovation, but at the same time it has the risk of getting politicized or getting subjectivity in appointment process, because it is very difficult to determine who is meritorious. You cannot fix the standard for that. The only thing is there is courage of conviction. There is courage of conviction Merit you cannot define. This courage of conviction कि दीपक मिश्रा को लगा कि नहीं KM Joseph is a meritorious person. So that is how we can consider. So we need, in today's time, legal system is also complex. It is complex, it needs innovation, it deals with complex environment. The nature of disputes are becoming more and more specialized, technical. So you need, let's say, greater expertise also in legal field also. It's not the simple, let's say, called criminal law and civil law and this and that. You have cyber law, you have intellectual property rights, you have many other things which demand also greater expertise. And because of that, we can say that merit is also important. So there should be balancing act. At the same time, there should be representation of other sections, especially women. Like women are not represented in this, which we'll talk. So let's write on these few lines. Since both merit and seniority have been followed, merit and seniority have been followed, they have their own advantages and disadvantages. They have their own advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantage. Like let's say seniority. Seniority has advantages. Advantages like first, rules out any external influence. Rules out any external influence. Let's all get opportunity. All get opportunity. Opportunity. Clarity. Clarity related to who is going to serve at the helm. Who is going to serve at the helm. Next, maintain stability in the institution. Maintain stability in the institution. Next, however, its most important advantage is it promotes independence of judiciary. It promotes independence of judiciary. Disadvantages. It results into short tenures. It results into short tenures. Short tenures, which affect any leadership and innovation. Any leadership and innovation. Next, it discourages merit. Merit, which is essential for innovation. Next, it may undermine social and gender diversity. And next, regional diversity. This change. Only seniority cannot be considered. A balanced approach. Only seniority cannot be considered as a balanced approach. Given the nature of Indian democracy and society. Given the nature of Indian democracy and society. and society. Next, merit advantages and disadvantages. Merit advantages and disadvantages. So, it promotes innovations. It promotes innovations. Innovations. It can provide a strong leadership. It can provide a strong leadership if tenure is fixed. If tenure is fixed, it encourages meritorious people to join judiciary, oblique organization. In any case, if you write, so it is organization. Next, it is compatible for present society, which needs expertise, specialization. Next, disadvantages. It has risk of external influence. Influence in terms of politically motivated decisions. And subjectivity in appointment. It is difficult to define merit. It is difficult to define merit. Simply. It may create problem of stability, as those who are senior can have dissatisfaction. And hence, merit most important disadvantage is subjectivity in appointment. Therefore, both principles should be followed. In case of judges appointment, but for Chief Justice, not only seniority principle should be followed, but also there should be practice of minimum tenure. Fixed at 2 years. So that a senior most judge who can serve minimum 2 years should be appointed as Chief Justice. It will eliminate ad hoc practice of 6 months, 8 months, 1 year tenure of Chief Justice. Chief Justice. The advanced democracies do have practice of long tenure like US, which has practice of lifetime as long as judge is competent. As long as judge is competent. So this is what you should know that, see, when a judge has at least 2 years tenure, so that results into reforms. He can pursue reforms. He can talk to the government. He can negotiate with the government. He gets confidence also, public confidence also. Other judges also feel confident under his leadership. Like when Justice Chanchud speaks his mind, so that gives motivation to judges that they can, let's say, our leader is, let's say that vocal on some of the matters of the society. That gives them motivation to give judgments even on those matters where they can feel that it is very controversial for the society. But when they find that their leader is not, let's say that vocal, or his role is just going to end, so who is going to come? Who would be at the helm? That matters, let's say that. They do bring reforms. Like say artificial intelligence was one such. Emphasis was given, is being given, and Judicial Infrastructure Corporation. Chief Justice Ramna, he used to tell that you create a company. He used to always tell to the government, you create an independent company which should be responsible for managing judicial infrastructure. This proposal, it is a very old proposal. You have for other things company, you have for a smart city, you have created a special purpose vehicle. You have to understand this. Develop a city as a smart city. We have a special purpose vehicle. But as of now, we don't have any company, let's say corporation, which should manage judicial infrastructure. Because judicial infrastructure is very important. And judges are not supposed to manage. Judges are supposed to come in office and give judgment. They are not supposed to talk about kitne table aaya tha aaj aur kal kitne chairs aane wale hain. Sorry to say that. Right. It is not their role. But as of now, judicial administration is also under their control. They have the responsibility for judicial administration. And at the same time also dispensing justice. Generally in other countries, there is, let's say, you have independent system. Judicial infrastructure is managed by an entity, a separate entity within control of judiciary. And judges are meant for only academic work. These things are not known in our, let's say, people do not know all these things. Koi concern nahi hai. Chal raha hai. All means thus we have written, I guess we should not write all. Right. You can say almost all you can write. Because when I told all, so then I thought, yes, I have not spoken right thing, but just I ignored. All means you can say almost all, not all. Right. So, this we will find when we talk that advantages, disadvantages, stable tenure. What we are telling is, even if court is saying, but let's have the minimum 2 years. If a judge who is going to be senior most and he's let's say that 2 or more years left in his retirement, that judge should be appointed as Chief Justice, rather than a judge who is just going to retire after 6 months or after 8 months or after 1 year. But these things will result into ad hocism, like say UL Lalit. Right. So you know that at the helm you have a short time, so jaldi kuch karna hoga, isn't it? So that is not good. For 10 years, you do not do anything. In one day, you just dispose the 10 lakh cases. So that is also not good practice. Yes. Although it has been considered as achievement, but I do not say it achievement because in normal days you are not disposing the case. But since you have a very short span of time as a Chief Justice, so you want to do something like this. Yes. So that way we can consider, right? If you bring merit, तो मेरिट में होगा कि फिर सीनियरिटी पे तो होगा नहीं. सीनियरिटी में ये है कि एज लॉन्ग एज यू अचीव 65 years. बट अगर मेरिट आएगा तो टेन्योर भी होगा. इसलिए देन इट इज नॉट लिंक टू रिटायरमेंट एज, रादर इट इज लिंक टू योर मेरिट. Merit means a person can be appointed to a long tenure. Like say US, they see the merit. So when they see merit and they have the practice not only for judge, CAG also their CAG serves for 15 years. Already we have told for a speaker, 34 years. तो speaker 34 years, CAG 15 years, cabinet secretary 15 years. ऐसे ऐसे होता है. So, because then you have it, that has also, no, experience brings expertise. This is also right. Experience brings expertise. This knowledge, let's say, a child cannot be expected to behave like father. This child will have to grow, then he will behave like father. Means that is called experience. आप इंटेलिजेंट हो सकते हो, अपने फादर से ज्यादा इंटेलिजेंट हो सकते हो, बट आपके पास एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है. एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है तो यू कैन नॉट बिहेव लाइक हिम. दिस इज हाउ द डिफरेंस. लेट्स से मेरिट इज नीडेड, बट यस द क्वेश्चन इज दैट देयर शुड बी फिक्स्ड टेन्योर ऑफ एटलीस्ट मिनिमम 2 years टेन्योर इज acceptable. Let's say that practice. This right. Right. It is very, that's why I told courage of conviction. It is courage of conviction. It is the depth in the personality. The depth in that personality which a person can observe. This. So that is how I told it. It is subjective. The person who says he is meritorious, then you can say yes, there is a depth in that person.